Belge drolor zampe zebrace, pande lame shabla solvade. Omo a guru vajradara sumati muni shasane kar. Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum hum. Oma guru vajradara sumati muni shas. Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi. Oma guru vajradara sumati muni shas. Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum hum. Omo a guru vajradara sumati muni shasane karam. Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum hum. Oma guru vajradara sumati muni shasane karam. Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum hum. Oma guru vajradara sumati muni shasane kar. Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum hum. Dagi jetsun lama tuje che nyamda dala tuje sikso so gebe shesan dala tendo so uyon sunge nawa tsedo so tseje nyingne solwa debe tse dejen korlo visu lekshune ila sambe dede malupa geme lungi drubra chingilo tsoni sodan diktun shape tse dungi namke yin so lekshune Lapchen tsoni yonso zopa dan chera nyetun chanwara chingelo chancho pargi nyinsen tukun tu nyu peme siodro lekshone chancho drube gegen kunshishi tungen de la drubra chingelo dagi lona chola chokpa dan chemin samjor ngemba shiwa dan chedan timbe dudun malupa beme lungi drubra chingelo Dorna tengne tsera tamche dan teche pardo ne kab tamche tu rese kyamne lama kele me tukje chengi dala siksu sol gongyab drewe nyamda dacha la chetsun lame tuje rab gongne kudan sunge nawa dral me tu nyamsu nyongwe kesan tobra sho kewa kundu yanda lama da rame cheke pela longche chi sadan lamge yunten rab zone Dorje change kopa nyur toba shon. Pakyuke kudan dagi lu, pakyuke sundan dagi nga, pakyuke tukdan dagi yi, ten yerme chiktu chingi lu, makyuke kudan dagi lu, Ma kyuke sundan dagi nga, ma kyuke tukdan dagi yi, ten yerme chikto chingi lo. Om muni muni maha muni shakya muni svo. Sashi pöke chukshi meto chan rirab lingshi nide gembadi sangye shindu mikte ulwargi drugunamda shingla che parasho idam guru ratna mindrala kam niryata yami sangye chedan tsoge chonamla chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi chinso gibe sonam ki Drola pinchra sangye druparasho sangye chedan tsoge chonamla chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki Drola pinchra sangye druparasho sangye chedan tsoge chonamla chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki Drola pinchara sangye druparasho. nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha. Prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni, possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Namo alhaye ke dan ludan ne je ke ruda da mi ke nam dan ro kun ke tanam che champa tam che ke to da ke che ten. Buongiorno. Lelen tamche chiglada kunla kadrin chewagom tongle nibo pelmarjang tenilung la kyombarcha.
These are four verses of a text called the Training, the 7 Points of the Mind Training. There is this small green book, and at page 41, that says it's a bit like the essence of what we can do. Banish the one. No, here the translation is wrong. Watch yourself from the guilty of everything. Protect yourself from the guilty of everything. Familiarize yourself on the great kindness of all beings. Practice a combination of giving and taking. Giving and taking should be practiced alternatively. And you should begin by taking from yourself. These two should be made using the breath as a support. I read once again. Watch yourself from the guilty of everything. Familiarize yourself on the great kindness of all beings. Practice a combination of giving and taking. Giving and taking, or receiving, should be practiced alternately. And you should begin by taking from yourself. These two should be made using the breath as a support. So let's go directly to the point. Watch yourself from the guilty of everything. Let's think about any conflict. Every discussion in family, up to the worst of all wars. Every conflict is born out of the same place, from the obsession of self-gratification, the so-called selfishness. When there is a conflict, at a certain point we can find all the possible reasons for which the conflict must be stopped, but the real solution is to go beyond the selfishness of each one. But, first of all, to recognize, without having to look at the world around us, but mainly looking at ourselves, at the basis of our own suffering. What is it that generates the suffering at the basis? Our own selfishness, our obsession with self-gratification. That is the attachment, the constant attachment to the I and the mine. So what happens is that at the basis there is this obsession with self-gratification. Why is it so important to understand that at the basis of our suffering there is the obsession with self-gratification? Are we selfish or not? Are we obsessed by the I and the mine? Yes. Our choices, our judgment is based on that as a point of reference. So I don't have a mean to go beyond my selfishness if not through the selfishness itself. Because I can't go beyond or eliminate the selfishness if not with what I am today. Let's remember what we talked about yesterday. So the basis, the path, and the result. At the basis today, are we selfish or not? Yes. So by being selfish, can I become altruist? Yes. Why? Just because the altruism is an evolution of the selfishness. Selfishness is where I want to be happy and I don't want to suffer. And there is the obsession towards ourselves. The altruism is where is the same identical wish that doesn't only want for oneself but also includes the others. I want to be happy, not suffer, but in the same way I want that each and everyone will be happy, not suffer. So when we say watch yourself from the culprit of everything, it means that selfishly speaking, it's better to be selfish, better to be altruist, so that all of our wars and conflicts and so on, they start from the obsession of self-gratification. So it's important to familiarize oneself with the kindness of the others, to generate empathy, love, and compassion. There are 4 important characteristics for a sane mind to be really well with oneself and the world. That is to have love. That means to desire the happiness. Compassion, that means to desire the freedom from suffering. Joy, that is the rejoicing, being happy for the happiness, the well-being, the virtue of the other, and equanimity. Or make it so that our love and compassion is not conditioned by the I and the mind. Equanimity doesn't mean to do exactly the same for everyone. Equanimity means I love you because you are you, not because of what you do for me. And so I love one and the other in the same way. So if I want to help, for example, by giving food, and I have 3 people with totally different necessities, to be equanimous doesn't mean to give the same thing to everyone. To have equanimity means to have the same intention and attitude to help the other, adapting with the necessity of the other. And in the teachings of Buddha, it's repeated in many occasions, these 4 characteristics that are called the 4 incommensurables. In some cases, it's called the 4 illimited meditations, that actually it's 4 familiarizations. We should familiarize with 4 qualities that need to be unlimited. There are love, unlimited love, that it's not limited by selfishness. Because now we love through the filter of the I and the mind, and so as long as you do good for me, then I love you. The day that you don't do so much good to me, that you're not so nice, that you have like a behavior that I believe it's harmful to me, do I love you in the same way? Not anymore. So we have a love that is conditioned and limited by our own selfishness. Unlimited love, it's a love that is not limited by selfishness, where I allow myself to really see the other without seeing the other through the filter of the I and the mind. It's a high goal, but it's reachable. So we have unlimited love, unlimited compassion, unlimited joy, there is the rejoicing, there is the celebrating, being happy for the happiness and the virtue of the others. and equanimity. Being free from the attraction towards some and aversion to others. That is where I don't relate anymore with the other on the basis of what the other has done or not done to the I and the mine. It's not obvious to develop these four qualities. And we will now see that there is an exercise with the breathing to develop these four qualities, to train ourselves in this. So here it says, meditate on the great kindness. It means familiarize yourself with the kindness of the others, generate gratitude to the others, try to see the others. This is the essence. Try to go beyond your selfishness and get close to the others with love and compassion by generating gratitude. The practice is done with a combination, through a combination of giving and receiving. To give, like to give and receive should be practiced in an alternate way, and you should begin by taking from yourself. This is a very important point. In order for me to be able to love the others, first of all, I need to love myself. The more we are able to love ourselves in a deep way, the more we are able to love the others in a deep way. I don't want now to get into details because otherwise I will not get to where I want to get to today, but it's very important, this first part. So in relation with the practice of giving and taking, these two things should be practiced using the breath as a basis, as a support. So when I breathe in, do I give or take? I breathe in, I take. I breathe out, I give. But it needs to start from ourselves. So in the first phase, what we do is when we breathe in, we receive the blessings that go and nourish our necessities. We have four types of necessities. We have the necessity, the material, physical necessity, the emotional necessity, the necessity of security and stability, and the spiritual necessities. When our necessities are not fulfilled, we have a really hard time to see the other. And I have found myself in front of some people that were with a really good heart, but that had such strong personal needs and difficulties that they didn't manage anymore to go towards the other. This is very normal. Aside from the fact of few beings where one reaches a state of familiarization with compassion and love and altruism that is so high, then at that point, even when he doesn't have food or when she has a lot of difficulties, nothing changes in seeing and loving the others. But for who is still in the process of familiarizing, when our necessities are not covered, we have a hard time. This is the example that we have given the other day. If I put my hand in the door, when in the door and I close the door, then it's really painful. And as I feel that pain, can I think, may all the beings be happy and meditate on the happiness of the others? At the beginning, maybe I can also try because I want to be a good Buddhist, but the door still pushes and I really feel the bones starting to crack, some blood coming out. What is my priority? To remove the hand. And if there is someone that pushes the door, if I can get close to you with my foot or hand, for how much I love you because you're part of the sentient beings, I will try to find a way to stop you. So, first of all, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to get to a point where we feel, okay, I'm at peace with myself. At this point, we create this space to see the other. There are many different techniques. Now I explain one. That is not the practice of the Tonlen. Usually this verse is related to a specific technique which is called Tonlen, the practice of giving and receiving. Now I will explain another practice which is not the Tonlen, just to put clarity. So when we breathe, we remember that the breathing is made out of 4 phases, 4 parts. So I breathe in, hold, breathe out, and hold. The main part is breathing in and breathing out. So we start with breathing in, and as we breathe in, we imagine that we receive, and in the form of light, that fills our body and brings us to a state of peace, joy, satisfaction that goes to every cell of our body, to every part, to every microorganism that lives with us, bringing well-being, physical and mental well-being. And where there are tensions, where there are some blockages, that light goes there and loosens the tensions, the blockages. And as we hold the air, we imagine that that light is absorbed in the various parts of our body. And as we breathe out as in the form of like black smoke, dark smoke that brings out the negativities, so from like the sicknesses, the inner tensions, the emotional wounds, the rancor, the fear, envy, selfishness, ignorance, on every level that there is. We start from the more gross levels up to the most subtle levels. And when we have completed the out breath, we hold the breath a bit. We remain in that state of freedom from negativities. Then we breathe in again, and again light and nectar comes in and nourishes the positive parts. So bringing us to a state of peace, of joy, of strength, of clarity, and so on. And this, I repeat, we start from a gross level, so first the physical level, where in the body we feel there are tensions, sicknesses, and so on, and we imagine the light that comes in. This light, if one wants to get more into the details, can come from Guru Buddha, from Tara, from what is called our object of faith. So it comes from everything that is positive. These rays of light come, enter in through our nostrils as we breathe, and they go all over the body, especially going in the various parts. And it really depends also on for how long one does the practice. If it's for longer, then one can imagine the various parts of the body. If one has also knowledge of anatomy better than mine, is not difficult, but anyway, more evolved, can imagine all the parts and gets to every cell together with the breathing, the oxygen that goes to each and every cell and goes into the blood and goes through every part of the body, then goes to all the microorganisms, bringing them to a state of well-being. So they also want to help us to be well. And I repeat, if we have some particular illness, let's imagine that it goes where that illness is, and it loosens the tensions, and then we breathe out, and the tensions, the rancor, the fear of what is there, that it's negative, it goes out. To me, it comes to my mind, okay, when we clean, in the beginning there is like the moment where you put on the product, the water with soap, and you scratch. Then you need to rinse to make it so that the dirt that it's there goes out. Sure, so when we breathe in, it's as if we were pouring water with soup. We hold the water and we absorb it. It's like scratching with the sponge to rub. And then when we breathe out, it's when the dirt goes out. And then after having breathed out, we hold a bit. And so we rejoice of that state free from that tension, and then we breathe in again. It's simple, no? And like many simple things, there are not necessarily easy to really do them well, to take some time to do it, but this is already a step further other than what we have done these days, where we focused on the breath. Now we add a visualization. And so, of course, the more I am able to breathe in a way that it's slow, the more I'm able to visualize together with it. Because if I breathe in with 2 and breathe out with 2, how can I visualize? It becomes very difficult. But if I breathe in with 4 and 6, and there is a time to imagine the light that comes in, and as I hold, this light goes in all the minimum parts of the body where there is a sickness and is absorbed, regenerating our qualities. And then, as we breathe out slowly, then we imagine that it goes out, and there's a sensation that sometimes we can have when the negativity goes out. It's as if we would eradicate our negativities because we have some attachment to them. It's strange to say, but often it happens. So we imagine like something with deep roots, and we remove it with all the roots, and it goes out completely. And as it goes out, it dissolves into space. Because to me, that's already happened. Someone asking, but if I do it close to someone, it's not that it goes to the other. No. So let's imagine that as it goes out, it dissolves into space. Then there are also other visualizations, but let's stick with this one. So at the beginning we start with the physical part, and when we get to a point where we feel that the body is okay, the tensions are loosened, and we imagine the whole body in a state of balance and well-being, of bliss. At that point we go to the mind, and then we direct our light towards our emotional wounds, towards the rancor, the sadness, the anxiety, the fear, the jealousy, the envy, the agitation, dissatisfaction, selfishness, ignorance, going more and more deep. So the light comes, it loosens the knot of that emotion, of that emotional wound that we have, and as we breathe out, we let it go. And in the process of breathing, in this case, if sometimes we feel that it's there that we need to breathe out is strong, because it can happen that emotion is strong, one can breathe in through the nose and breathe out from the mouth. It can be done. Usually the best is to breathe in from the nose and to breathe out from the nose. But for example, if we have a very present emotion, that maybe it's anger, sadness, and so on, when that negative emotion is very strong, this practice works better at the beginning if I breathe in through the nose and I breathe out through the mouth. Then when we feel that the strength of that negative emotion has decreased, then we go to breathing in and out through the nose. And this is what says here in the text. And you should begin by taking from yourself, to take your negativities, to bring them out, and you receive the blessings and you nourish yourself. The next phase is when, after I've done the practice, we get to a point where we imagine that we are in this state of total well-being and peace with ourselves. So the tensions, the physical tensions are loosened, the mental and emotional tensions also. We are at peace with the past, the future. We are at harmony with the present. And when we imagine that we are in this state, we remain in this state for a while. We focus on the breathing, but we stop for a moment that dynamic of giving and taking, we simply focus on the breathing, and we bring our attention mostly on the sensation of that state of peace, well-being, harmony, and we allow ourselves for a while to feel it, to remain in that state. Once we've done that, then we go to the next step. The next step is where we familiarize ourselves with love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So what we will do is, okay, in the first breath, even if we say giving and taking, okay, we breathe in deeply, and as we breathe out from the center of our body, at the center of the heart chakra, we imagine that light goes out, and to be more precise, it's at the center of the central channel, and when we breathe out, it goes out the two sides. Okay, the central channel goes until below the navel, and then there are two side channels where the air goes there, and then it goes through out of the nostrils. This light goes to the beings that surround us. It go to one place, to one person, one being in particular, or to all beings. If we have this wish to go towards one, then we start with that, and then it multiplies with the others. Let's imagine around ourselves all the other beings, starting from maybe our parents, independently from the fact that they are alive or not. So we imagine our dad, our mom, our brothers, sisters, uncles, and family, friends. Usually we visualize on our sides those towards which we have attraction, so like the father on the right and the mother on the left. Those towards which we are indifferent, so we have neither aversion or attraction, we visualize them behind us, and we have a notion of beings there. And then those towards which we have a certain aversion, particular difficulty, we put them in front of us. There is also the other mode where we simply visualize all the beings that we know around us, and around them all those that they know, and so like this we gradually get to everyone. The important thing when we visualize the other beings is that is each and everyone. So we shouldn't generalize too much. We should try to include everyone. That is why we make this difference between friends, indifferent, and enemies, because we start from that relationship, and we need to develop equanimity. So when we breathe out, we should imagine light that comes out of our heart, and it goes through the nostrils and goes towards every being that surrounds us. Not before, like at the right, at the left, and then behind, and then if there is still some light in front. It goes in the same way everywhere. It goes like in all directions. And this light, as it goes around, reaches every being, and it does the same that we have done before with ourselves. So that light comes, loosens the tension, the suffering of the body and the mind of that being, and then after that their negativities go out. As we breathe in, the light comes back on us. The light comes back and it nourishes again that feeling of love and compassion. It goes in through the nostrils, goes inside the central channel, is absorbed at our heart, and we breathe out, it goes out. I hold. I imagine that when I hold, after having breathed in, then I imagine that that light is absorbed in me, and I focus on the feeling of love and compassion. I forgot to say before, I breathe out and I emanate, and after that I hold and I rejoice for the happiness and well-being of the others. So how beautiful that you feel better. So we have 4 phases. I breathe out, I emanate, light nectar goes to every being, helping them. Doesn't solve the problems of anyone, it goes to interact with every being according to what they need, so that they are able to reach a state of physical and mental, emotional well-being up to a state of peace. If we do the practice for longer, then at the beginning it loosens some physical suffering, then gradually they reach a state of peace. I breathe out, emanate, light nectar that goes to each and every being, bringing them happiness and loosening the suffering, eliminating the suffering and bringing happiness. And after having breathed out, I hold and I rejoice of their state of well-being, and I breathe in the rays of light after having done their job. They come back and I rejoice once again, then they are absorbed in me. And they nourish again my feeling of love, of compassion, and I hold, they are absorbed in my heart, and I focus on that feeling of love and compassion. In this visualization, we are training in 4 feelings: love, wanting the happiness of the other; compassion, wanting the other to be free from suffering; rejoicing for the happiness and virtue and well-being of the others; and equanimity, because we send to each one in the same way without discriminating between one and the other. So in this way, we maintain an exercise that, together with the breathing, what we do is to train and familiarize ourselves with these 4 qualities that are really important in our path. There is a version that is a bit more advanced of this practice. That is what is actually called Tonglen, which we'll not explain now, because otherwise we will make more confusion, maybe. But this is already amazing and it can be done very well. And we conclude the practice in imagining that all the beings are in a state of peace and joy, and we rejoice of that. So this is one of the ways with which we can put together the visualization with the breathing. I add one small part, that is, if we want, I say it because maybe I don't know when we will have a chance then to repeat it again. So not necessarily you need to be practiced in this way, but you can add an internal recitation. The recitation is the following: I emanate with the sound of Om. I emanate with Om. I receive with Om, is absorbed at the heart, and as I hold the air with the sound of Ha, and I emanate and breathe out with the sound of Hum. But it's an inner sound, so it's not the external sound. Like in the practice of self-healing, at the end you do the Om. Actually, the way with which we do it usually is representative, so it represents the light that comes in, enters through the nostrils, follows the 2 side channels, goes inside the center channel, is absorbed, feels the center channel, and is absorbed at the heart. That's what the gesture represents. Then there is Ha and Hum. So what we do here is the same thing, but with the inner recitation together with the breathing. In the self-healing book, it is said at a certain point, okay, you need to inhale with Om, hold with A, and breathe out with Hum. And often I have heard people saying, how can I do it? Like as I do Om. How can I do it? Actually, it's because it needs to be done with an inner recitation, so where the sound doesn't go out. So as we do this, one can breathe in with Om, hold with Ha, and is absorbed at the heart, and from the heart it emanates with Hum.
Mentre faccio questo, ricevo luce.
And as I do this, I receive light, is absorbed at the heart, I emanate light when I breathe out. The light goes to the beings, helps the beings. You can also add another detail. The light is emanated towards also the sacred beings and makes an offering to them and brings back the blessings. The light goes to the sentient beings and brings them to a state of well-being, and then it comes back with the positive karmic force of that action and is reabsorbed in us, going to nourish more and more our qualities in the process. I think it's quite clear, right? Or is there some doubt about this? One of the things that are very important is that when we imagine, our brain doesn't work in the same way as when we are thinking conceptually. Our imagination is lived like a real experience by all means. When we find ourselves in front of situations, our point of reference is not our knowledge, but our experience. And when we visualize, imagine, we are creating some new experience that then becomes a point of reference for us. There is no hurry to the practice, emanating to the others and then taking, receiving. Always in the teachings of the Lojong there is a passage. Let's see if I can find it quickly. At page 45, one of the commitments of the mind training, which is to not want to win by all means, which is like not being the first of the class, not wanting to do the practice for being the good practitioner, but to transform oneself. And so we should respect the length of our legs. And so if I still feel some tensions, rancor, things like internal knots, that maybe in the practice at a certain point I can imagine that they are not there anymore at all, and so I'm ready to give to the others. And then after the practice I still see that something has remained, but at least we need to be able to imagine that we are free from that, but also to imagine that we are free from our rancor, from our illnesses and so on. It's not so obvious. And so we start from that with no hurry to go to the next. And it's very interesting, this practice, because when we do it well, we also are somehow rebuilding our memory, recreating our memory of the past. We are giving a new meaning, we are welcoming our pain, our rancor, our wounds, and we are saying, telling them it's alright, this is the past, I'm not that anymore. And by welcoming these tensions and loosening them, we nourish ourselves with something positive. So it's an act of love towards ourselves. And it's very similar with when someone is feeling bad. What that person needs the most is simply someone that welcomes that person with love. It's not what is said that makes the difference, it's not what is done of particular things, but being welcomed with love and with no judgment. This has a huge power. So also when there is someone that is not well, just simply to be with that person, without judging that person, giving love, and just being there with affection, ready to welcome the other. This already has not indifferent power. And here we do the same with ourselves. Also because if we are not able to welcome ourselves, then we will not really be able to welcome the others. I know that very often maybe one thinks, no, for me it's easier to welcome the others than myself. When this happens, actually is a superficial level. So it's very important, this part where we welcome ourselves, our wounds, rancor, sadness, our tensions, and what is there, without getting into the judgment, as if we could hug ourselves, embrace ourselves. We send light to that, we loosen those tensions, and then we breathe in, we nourish that state of well-being, then we loosen again the tensions. This is also very similar to what is done when we do, for example, the practice of Vajrasattva. And here I wanted to add one small passage only. When we listen to anything or read anything, inevitably we listen that through the basis of knowledge that we already have. And at the basis that we have when we listen to the Buddhist teachings is of a culture that is very different from the culture where the teachings were originally transmitted. So when we talk about purifying, of the part of when we talk about it comes usually with a sense of guilt. And also sometimes there is that feeling, I need to suffer because I've done something wrong, and it's through the suffering that I will eliminate that negativity. Sometimes I hear some comments that are absurd, but it's part of the culture. Sometimes I hear someone saying, someone that is in a situation of very difficult, if I don't get enlightened, then I don't know who else. As if through suffering and striving, then one gets enlightened sooner. What helps to enlighten oneself is to generate love, compassion, wisdom, satisfaction, awareness, concentration, and so on. It's not suffering. Because if suffering would bring to a level of spiritual growth, it would be much easier. I would have many techniques that we could apply here. We do the malas with the iron points, and then we do the sessions to grow spiritually. We do sessions of psychological, physical tortures of any kind. Human creativity is immense in this sense. But the reality is that it doesn't work. What makes us grow spiritually is not to point the finger on the shadow, but to walk towards the light. So when we talk about purifying, the main mantra of purification is the mantra of Vajrasattva. It's called the 100 syllables mantra. Without getting into details now, the meaning of the mantra is not how bad I've been, I did wrong and I need to suffer. It's not that. The meaning of the mantra is my nature, I recognize my real nature. I am free of an intrinsic existence. I'm an interdependent. I welcome myself. I see my nature. I means to recognize and welcome oneself in the deeper sense. It means, okay, I've done stupid things up to today, yes. Stupid things come from ignorance, but I am an interdependent being, so I can act in a different way, transform myself. What I've done was a result of the causes and conditions of all the interactions that brought me to that moment. So instead of blaming myself, I welcome myself and I redirect myself So also the meaning of this purification practice means to make peace with our past. I've done something ugly, I acted in a way that was not nice. Yes, I recognize that that action was not good, and I commit to not repeat it. And I imagine the rays of light that come and loosen the tensions created by that action and really eliminate that in an act of love and compassion towards myself. And so I welcome myself and I redirect myself. So, in this practice that we will now do together with the breathing, there is a part that is very important, that is the so-called purification. That is when we receive the rays of light that come and loosen our tensions. It's not only about the physical level where we see, but also on the emotional level, because there is some rancor of what we've done, there is some sadness for what we have lived. There are many things that the sense of guilt, knots that we have created in time, and we welcome them and we allow them ourselves to loosen these knots, and really as an act of welcoming ourselves with love and affection, which is not like saying, never mind. No, yes, okay, I've done something stupid, but I welcome myself. It was done, it was caused by my own ignorance, by my own selfishness. I don't want to act in that way anymore. Allow myself to loosen that, and then I redirect myself towards what I want to be. This practice of being able to revisit what we did and loosen the knots of the immediate or remote past is one of the practices that Buddha described that we should do every day, that are called practices of purification. Then the name of purification sometimes can give a different idea, but the key is that we should be at peace with our past and at peace with our present. And in order to do that, we need to act with love towards ourselves. I know that maybe it's easier to imagine it towards the others, but we start from ourselves, and this is fundamental. So I would say, okay, now we do this practice together a bit.
Perciò ci sediamo in una posizione confortevole.
So we sit in a comfortable position with the back straight but not tense.
Spalle rilassate.
Shoulders are relaxed.
La testa leggermente in avanti.
Head is slightly forward. Mouth is relaxed with the tongue resting on the palate. Eyes are slightly closed, looking downwards. The awareness on the breathing. We observe our own breath.
Osserviamo i movimenti del corpo.
We observe the movements of our body as we breathe. the sensation at our nostrils of the air coming in and of the air going out. We observe the temperature of the air. That is more fresh as we breathe in. And slightly warmer as we breathe out. Gently, we bring our breathing to an abdominal breathing. So we breathe in deeply, bring in the air below the navel. And we breathe out deeply with no rush, eliminating all the air possible. We breathe in. And breathe out. As we breathe in, other than feeling the belly, we continue in a continuous flow with also feeling the chest until we get to a slight, almost imperceptible lifting up of the shoulders, breathing in all the air possible without forcing too much. And as we breathe out, we empty first the upper part of the chest and then lastly the lower part of the abdomen until the abdomen contracts slightly. So I breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. We bring awareness of the spaces, the gaps between the in-breath and the out-breath, and between the out-breath and the in-breath. With awareness, we breathe with 4 phases. So I breathe in, hold, breathe out, and hold, without forcing too much, naturally. Breathe in. We breathe in counting to 4. Hold counting to 4. Breathe out counting to 6. and hold, counting to 2. So breathe in 4, hold 4, breathe out 6, hold 2, breathe in 4.
Inspiro 4,
Breathe in with 4, hold with 6, breathe out 8, and hold 3. Breathe in 4, hold 6, breathe out 8, hold 3. Breathe in,
inspiro 4,
breathe in 4, hold 8, breathe out 8, hold 4. So breathe in 4, hold 8, breathe out 8, hold 4. As we breathe in, we breathe in light and nectar that comes from Guru Buddha in front of us, from a source of love, wisdom. Rays of light come through our nostrils, bringing us every blessing. We breathe in, the light goes all over our body, goes inside the central channel, and from there it goes to every part of the body, going especially where there are some tensions, some illnesses. And as we hold the air, that light is absorbed, loosening those tensions, eliminating that negativity. And as we breathe out, we collect those negativities and we let them go out. And they go out through our nostrils in the form of a black smoke that dissolves in the space. We hold the air, we rejoice of that state free from negativity, that negativity. Then we breathe in again, receiving the blessings in the form of light and nectar. That goes where there is more tension. And we start with the physical tensions up to the mental negativities, up to our own negative karmic forces and the imprints brought with ourselves from life to life. So we start with the most gross level up to getting gradually to the most subtle level. So I breathe in light and nectar. It's absorbed in my body where there are negativities as we hold. We breathe out the negativities. We rejoice with this state. We hold and we breathe in again light and nectar. Everyone should put emphasis where he feels more necessity. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. The rays of light and nectar, other than loosening the tensions, are spread to every cell of our body, to every microorganism that lives inside of ourselves, bringing harmony and well-being. Every negativity is dissolved as we breathe out. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. The rays of light go inside the central channel when we breathe in, going to the deepest places of our being, loosening the tensions accumulated in our mind, the emotional wounds, the rancor, the fear. Our negativities of mind are dissolved. As we breathe out, they go out in the form of a subtle black smoke that is dissolved in the space around us. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. As we breathe in, the rays of light fill completely our body, going in through the nostrils, and below the navel they get inside the central channel, and from the central channel they spread towards all the 72,000 subtle energy channels, filling every part of the body, every cell, every microorganism. Our body and our mind are filled with light, and we find ourselves in a state free from any negativity. And as we breathe out, we emanate light that is emanated to the world that surrounds us. We breathe in light, and we remain in this inner state of harmony, of peace with the past, with the present and the future, of harmony with ourselves and with the world that surrounds us. Breathe in. hold, breathe out, hold, breathe in,
Rimaniamo in questo stato interno di pace.
we remain in this inner state of peace,
Di armonia.
of harmony with ourselves and the others. We continue breathing with 4 phases in a natural way, and we bring our attention even more in the inside, not more in the body or on the breathing, but on the sensation of inner peace and of infinite inner space.
Inspiro.
Breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold,
Inspiro.
breathe in.
Manteniamo.
We maintain the awareness on this infinite inner space, the inner sensation of harmony and peace, and we bring back our attention on the breathing. We breathe 3 times.
Inspiro la seconda. Manteniamo il contatto.
We maintain the contact with the inner sensation of peace and space, and we bring our attention towards the outside, going through the breath, and we breathe the third time. We maintain the awareness on the inner state of peace and our breath. We commit to act with peace, with respect, with love towards the beings that we will meet. We commit to follow an inner path of spiritual growth, of love, compassion, generosity, of peace, and to act for the benefit of the beings that we will meet, directly and indirectly. Let's open the eyes and make the final dedications.
Panam ke gyurchi ke pa nyam par me pa yang kong ne kontu pelwar shon nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delek shin insen taktu delek pe kuncho sumke chingi lo kuncho sumke ngodrubut sol Kuncho sumke trashi shon. All'alba o al tramonto, di notte o durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni, possano aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cospargere il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and spring all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
In this way we conclude this session, and I invite everyone to try to find some continuity. One can do also this practice while he's sitting on the ground. We can do it. We should give some continuity to this, because these practices work when we give continuity and when they're done, otherwise they don't work. So this is it. And I wanted to invite you to this afternoon that there is Lama Caroline, which is offering this gift. She received from Lama Rinpoche this blessing, this practice, this initiation, which is dedicated to long life. So she wanted today to offer to everyone and share with everyone this same practice, this same dedication for the long life. So these practices actually are not really about only long life, but to regenerate the energy, so have a healthy life physically, mentally. And so this is it for now. And then tomorrow morning, still at 7, I will be here. And I just wanted to ask a practical thing. Today I will have to go at lunch with Lama Caroline, if I manage to get there before she has finished the lunch. And then I have a meeting with some monks from Thailand that we have helped to get to Italy, and so they come here and I have to receive them. So in other words, Wu will be there tomorrow. If he needs to ask something, we will do that tomorrow. Wu is not there tomorrow and wants to come for saying hi, is welcome. So thank you everyone.